Yes, good morning everybody and peace and joy. Hope all of you are well today. Today I'll be dealing with the poem Childhood by Renee Maria Rilke. So, but before we begin, I hope all of you have your textbooks with you. That is very important, and then you should have a pen or a pencil with you because otherwise, my PowerPoint is fully blank. Nothing would be there in that. I will be conveying it to you, and you will need to write down notes if you would like. So it is important that you have your pencil or a pen, and you can write it down in the margins. That would be better. And to begin with, put down my name there. I am Teresa J. Helois or Sister Angela, and I teach at the Little Flower College, Guruvayur. So the self-introduction part is over. I have made a small PowerPoint here. We'll begin with that. And that will be quite helpful for us. All right. So I hope all of you can see this. This is Childhood by Rainer Maria Rilke. And yeah. Now this is the route map. This is the way we would be doing. First of all, things required that I told you just now, and my self-introduction, that is over. Then the next thing is you will have the poem, text of the poem, and then the analysis of the poem. There will be no written words in the analysis. I will be giving you the analysis. Analysis just means that interpretation of these lines, what these lines meant, means, etc. You can get more meanings of these things, but these are what I can give to you. Then we have about the poet and historical background. Actually, to understand a poem, that might not be that important, but if you have a knowledge about who the poet is, how he thinks, and what was the socio-political, economical, psychological system in which he lived, it would be better to understand a poem. That is why we give these things. Then we have themes. And in case we have multiple layers of understanding the same poem, we will be doing the analysis of the poem once again with the new knowledge that we gathered when we came to know about the poet and the history. Then we will be analyzing symbols, devices, and style that is used in this poem. And you have a bit of healthy distractions. I always add this because you're free for a long time these days. So at least you don't want to study, but you can have healthy distractions. That's why I put there. Then we have question and answers, and then finally it will be over. Okay. So to start, this is the text of the poem. I think you might have or you might not have read it before, but I always like reciting it once. That would be good. We will get into it like that, Childhood. It would be good to give much thought before you try to find words for something so lost. For those long childhood afternoons you knew that vanished so completely. And why? We are still reminded, sometimes by a rain, but we can no longer say what it means. Life was never again so filled with meeting, with reunion, and with passing on. As back then, when nothing happened to us except what happens to things and creatures, we lived their world as something human and became filled to the brim with figures and became as lonely as a shepherd and as overburdened by vast distances, and summoned and stirred as from far away, and slowly, like a long new thread, introduced into the picture sequence where now having to go on bewildered us. Alright, so this is the text of the poem, and let us go back to what is happening into the poem. What do you think is happening here in childhood? And let me tell you, number of famous poets have already written about childhood. You too would have learned poems on childhood on this theme by many people. Like, Wordsworth has written about it. And he says about the loss of innocence and all such things. When you get the title of the poem, what does first come into your mind? Maybe most probably we might think that the bliss of childhood, the joy, the carefree life, the innocence, you could just move on with anything and everything. and you have secret kind of strange kind of fears which you would feel it is funny now when you think about it. So many such kinds of things were discussed in poems by on childhood by many other poets. I think it would be a very good distraction if you read such poems there. It will be nice for you all. You can understand the poet and you can understand new poems also. Anyway, here you have a little bit of change in it is true that he is also speaking about loss of innocence. He is also speaking about many kinds of, different kinds of things that children do. But on the whole, what do we see in it? First of all, it is a loss. And it is one sort. It is a kind of an elegy maybe or nostalgia, wherein he is thinking about okay, those childhood days are gone, and he is very perplexed. Why did it go? That is the way he is thinking, and you see the second line. You try to find words for something so lost. It is already lost. It is already long gone, and but you are trying to find words to describe that thing. He's speaking about childhood there, and I like this. I like those things. Now, and his memory. You see, there is a picture of a long childhood afternoon there. But when you think of it, he is actually nostalgic. He is actually sad about why childhood went away. If that is the case, then who would write long childhood afternoons? When do you think a certain thing or a certain event is prolonged? When you're sitting in a boring class, you will feel that it is not a 1 hour class, but it is a 10-hour class. Things that are boring would seem to be long, and things that are very interesting would seem to be very to occupy a short span, isn't it? That is what we usually feel. So then, what kind of paradox he is using here? He is actually sad for the loss of childhood, but he is telling that those long childhood afternoons. He actually might have, it would have been boring for him that afternoon. That's why he mentions long childhood afternoons. Anyway, by those words, only that much we can know of that particular phrase there. And then he is questioning, why is these things happening like this? Then in the next stanza of 4 lines there, he is triggered. Now, why did these things come back to his mind? There was a small rain or small drizzle, and the rain acted as a trigger. It acted as a catalyst to bring back all these memories to him about his childhood and about all these things. So we are still reminded sometimes by a rain, but we can no longer say what it means. Okay, he is actually perplexed. He cannot interpret his own memories. That is the condition. But we can no longer say what it means. We are reminded, but we do not know what it means. That is the condition there. Then life was never again so filled with meeting, with reunion, and with passing on. So his childhood or anyone's childhood. One more thing that I want to bring your attentions to. Look at the way he is narrating this poem. It is in first person, but it is first person plural. He is bringing you and me together, and we are saying it. Or what does it actually mean? Who is the we in that poem? It cannot be anyone else. It is anyway. He is including the poet is including the reader to be we. So it is that way. So he is generalizing all our experience. Maybe perhaps he is doing that. So he says we are still reminded. We are still reminded sometimes by rain, but we can no longer say what it means. Life is never again so filled with meeting. No. It is in childhood that we experience new things, isn't it? First time when we see a fish, first time when we saw an elephant, first time when we saw a zebra, new meetings. So it could mean that way. In a plainer level, when you're speaking about childhood and with meetings and with reunion, it could just be only so much. You see new things. You are meeting with new things and reunion. Each time when you go and see, each time you experience these things that you liked, it might have been a kind of reunion, and it is also a passing on, because the child knows that each day something is changing, and children grow faster, so it is always passing on. You pass on your clothes because it doesn't fit you anymore, and such thing, and so on and so forth. Okay, you're passing it on. And the way you're thinking, the toys that you have, you are passing it on. Okay, now I was playing with this, but now only 1 year is over, but I feel that it is enough there. You're passing on that kind of a situation. So that might be one thing when he says that life was never again so filled with meeting, with reunion, and with passing on. And this can be one set of one outer layer of meaning there. And then what do we have? As back then, when nothing happened to us except what happens to things and creatures. Okay, so when you read this stanza, this third stanza of 4 lines, you would come to know, you would see that he is continuing it. Actually, it is an enjambment there. From that previous stanza, he has jumped into this stanza, and again in this stanza, there seems to be no end. He is continuing and continuing it. And here, what do we see? Is a child serious about anything? He is. He is in fact serious about things. But then those things are not that important to elders. It would be like, they are in their own world. Okay, I saw an ant and there is an ant life there. You go with the ant, you go where it is going, and all this and all that. And children are often known to dream about, they have animated things, the table talking to you, the rubber talking to you, his pencil talking to him, and that kind of thing. So you see, except what happened to things and creatures, things, inanimate things and animate creatures, not to himself, not to that person as such. So that is the kind of setup you have in childhood. You would remember Alice in Wonderland, isn't it? Alice is going into the hole behind the rabbit. Now that kind of a situation. When you grow up, once you come to know that there cannot be a talking rabbit. There cannot be a rabbit with a ticking clock there. And there are many other inanimate things within that, within stories meant for children, where inanimate things speak to you. So it is a world there like that. And we lived their world as something human. You thought that was human to you, more human to you than the real world. So it can be like that. So here you can see there is a distance there about between the reality and between the reality that you are living, which is an illusion actually, and became filled to brim with figures. So the mind is filled with figures now, as you were a child, when you were a child, and became as lonely as a shepherd. Now here there is another kind of a stance, lonely. So weren't you happy there at that time when you were playing with the, you think a stance like an Alice in Wonderland kind? You were playing, but actually the poet says that, and became as lonely as a shepherd. As lonely as a shepherd. Now, if you have seen in how people tend sheep, now it is very rare to see such sceneries. But then, whenever you see, you would find that there is one shepherd and there is flocks of sheep there. The whole multitude go like a mass together, but they are lonely as such. That one person and so many sheep or duck or whatever, they go like that. They herd them like that. So they are lonely, but as a group. And what does it show? It is a group there. You imagine, it brings into your mind a kind of scenery where there are hills and meadows and rivers, and this whole group of the shepherd and the sheep going as a group in search of waters and in search of pasture, and it is going like that. And it is traveled. They are overburdened with vast distance. Now they are distanced. This can also mean the distance the child takes from reality to their life. They are living they are living in a world of things and creatures. They are living a separate world, in a separate world there, and they are distanced from the outside world. This can be a meaning there. But they were in their own condition. But all of a sudden, what happened? As someone danced it, as if someone called you back, as if you are put into. Now the child suddenly becomes an adult. He doesn't know how that transition took place. All of a sudden it happens. Suddenly becomes a person who is responsible to things. all such things. And slowly, like a new thread introduced into that picture sequence. There was a picture sequence there, so many kinds of pictures. So a new thread, a new string, a new kind of picture is now attached to this. We are now having to go on bewildered as we are bewildered. Ayo, where did I reach now? After all this roaming about, after all this living among creatures and things, and after all this seeing nothing happening to us, but seeing things happening to things and creatures. Now suddenly we are managers now. We have to manage things now. Suddenly we became others, and this step bewilders us. This can be this is one layer of meaning, and we have understood almost all the lines and all the inner meanings of these lines. Now, for a change, if we have to understand the deeper meaning of this poem, I think we need to know about the poet. Okay, this is our Rainer Maria Rilke. Now, the name that is given here, it is his real name, Rene Carl Wilhelm John Joseph Maria Rilke. This is his real name, and he was born of Joseph Rilke and Zofia Enz Rilke. Okay. Now, if you say, okay, 1 second. I just want to. Now, he is a Bohemian Austrian poet, German poet actually, and he is known to be the widely recognized as one of the most lyrical, intense German language poets. Now, his style of writing itself is called as a Rilke poem. That kind. It is intense with lyrically intense. These poems are. And generally, his poems are mystical. Now you see these lines itself. It is kind of inward journey. Where did you go? You went back to your childhood. And why did you go there? To see what is there. That kind of mystery is there within his. And in his time, he was a transitional poet because it was a time where traditional poem was there and modernist poem was there. He was in between. He was transiting from the traditional style to modernist style. Now, when we mentioned that line, long childhood afternoons, I gave you a hint there that why did it become long? It should have been short, isn't it? It should have been brief. Because if it was that good, if it was that bright, he would have told that it was beautiful, it was wonderful, and it was brief, it was a span. He would have told that. But no, he just told for those long childhood afternoons. Long. Why did it happen? Most probably it might have been because of his sad childhood. And why sad? It can be sad because, his father, Joseph Rilke, was a very, very strict kind of a person. He insisted on Rilke to be going to a military school. At the same time, Rilke was not fit for such kind of rigorous education. Now, you would say, oh, Rilke is the name Maria Rilke. It might have been like a boy, but then was he a girl or something like that? No, this is a problem here. His mother, Sophie and Rilke, she was a soft woman. That couple lost their daughter almost at this age. This Rainer Maria Rilke was born after the death of that daughter. Both the parents missed the daughter. Mother actually was dressing him in soft clothes and all such things. Father was opposing all these things. He wanted his son to be in military. Actually, the father was also in a military person, but he was a failure there, so he joined the railway and he was working there. So this is one photograph where you can see, the impact. This can cause problem in the child. Now, that was the condition there. Then after that, he joined philosophy. He dropped out from the military school. He joined philosophy. He dropped out from there. Actually, it is after he came out of Prague, his real education came. Now, this person that you see in this picture is Love Andrea Salome. He was one of his friends and a very strong friend, almost 10 years senior to him, a married woman when they were starting a relationship. She was a very great influence on his life, and I think most of the writers and people at that time, influential people of that time, she influenced them. For some time, she was his lover, and then he traveled with her a long time. This person was a great influencer on him. Why I am telling you this is she is actually the student of, or she actually learned psychoanalysis from Sigmund Freud at that time when psychoanalysis had newly come. You know that he released his book in 1899 or something like that, isn't it? So at that time, psychoanalysis was just coming. Psychoanalysis, his interpretation of dreams. That was one of the book that was released at that time. So this person learned psychoanalysis from Sigmund Freud. She was a friend to Rilke. She taught many of these psychoanalytical thoughts to Rilke, and that those thoughts influenced Rilke a lot. So this is an important person in his life. And I told you they traveled a lot. In this travel, they had gone to Russia. There they had met Tolstoy. You should know who that is. Leo Tolstoy, great writer. And there they have met Pasternak and his family. They were friends with them. So this is the condition. After this, at around I think 1902 or something like that, he stayed in a place, in a colony where there were artists, impressionist artists. I mean to say painters. Great famous painters were there in that colony that he was living. There, not only painters were there, but also sculptors. And this person, he married her. She was a sculptor herself, and I wonder the relation between them might not have been that calm. But then they did divorce. They were it was a kind of it was a kind of understanding. They lived lifelong as couple, didn't divorce, but then the bond between the heart was not that strong. From her, he actually got in touch with Augustin Rodin, who was a great sculptor of that time, and he also was a great influence on Rilke. Now he actually stressed more. His area is sculpting, and he gave importance to details, minute details, and new kind of designs, sculpture designs. So he was his wife's teacher. Rilke actually wrote actually wrote. He was his secretary. He was his secretary for some time. Actually, when life was difficult, he did not have enough money. He chose to become the secretary of Rodin, and Rodin has influenced very much. Rodin was a great influence in his life. Now, okay. One more thing I wanted to say. As we go, when you describe a life of the poet, you have basically in Rilke's life, you would see 3 different stages in the development of his poem. He actually used his poetry to express himself. He has not only written poetry, he has also written a kind of a novel, diary, and such things. Now, he expressed himself through his poems. So that is understood already, that poets express themselves through poetry. But what he does is, initially his poems were very self-conscious and sentimental and abstract, that were not that successful. But after his coming into connection with the Impressionist poet, I told you that he stayed in a colony where artists were there. At that time, he used painterly kind of techniques in his poems, and his poems developed very much. And it is during that period that he wrote poems, mainly poems that is collected in the book called Book of Images or Book of Pictures. We believe that this poem that we are learning now is in that childhood, is in that collection of poems, a Book of Pictures, a Book of Images, released in 1902. So that is one period of his poetic excellence. Now again, after he became influenced by Auguste Rodin, his poetry became more sharper, more vivid. It became more concrete, and like Rodin used to say, you should observe things. You should you should pay attention to small details. So at that time, his poem became more detailed, more thoughtful. Like it was not just a burst of what he felt. It was not that emotional, but he sat, disciplined his writing, he disciplined his work. That kind of work came. This would be this kind of poems can be seen in his collection New Poems, which he published in 1907. Okay, that is just know all these things. All these things. Okay, that much is it. Now I just wanted to share this one last thing. This is a poem. This is a painting done by. It is a painting of Rilke done by Boris Pasternak's brother. Boris Pasternak, you should be knowing. He is a great Russian writer. He wrote Dr. Zhivago. In your section called Healthy Distractions, write down this also. So his brother, Boris Pasternak's brother, painted this painting for Rainier. Posthumously. He was dead at that time. Okay, that much over. Now we will go to this one, historical background of that time. It was a time of industrial revolution. People saw that anything can be manufactured, and railways came, telephone came. When changes like this come, it also tends to affect the way of people's thinking. Not only that, it was during this time, 1858, Origin of Species, Charles Darwin, and I had the date of this one's publication. What is that? Interpretation of Dreams by, it was in 1899. Interpretation of Dreams by Sigmund Freud. These books came about during this time in history. So what happens at that time? Till now, people who were dependent upon agriculture or some small scale industries or handicraft, that kind of thing, now came to be, the situation became industrialized. Now what can happen to their faith at that time? Medicines developed. So the standpoint of there is a God and God controls all things, that kind of an idea was distorted during this period, the period between 1850 to 1950, exactly the period when Rainier Maria Rilke was living. I didn't tell the story about how he changed his name, no? It was his friend, that senior friend of his, Lois Andres Salome. It was her suggestion that he changed his name from Rene Carl to Rainier Maria Rilke. So she suggested that would be more manly, and maybe that cured his problem, where in his childhood he was, dressed like a girl and all such things. Maybe it had some impact on his mind, and that need to be sorted out. So that way, I just put in that information. Okay, so now what do we see? Faith changed. People now do not think that God is everything. God is there, or God is, the center is removed, the center is changed. God is not central to everything. That kind of a notion came, and it is at this time Friedrich Nietzsche told God is dead. And that person died, or that person influenced the philosophy of this particular area. Now, gathering all these information that you got, we need to see this poem once again. Once again, really once again. So, what does this poem mean now? Just look at those things. When you say, it would be good to give much thought before you try to find words for something so lost, for those long childhood afternoons. Now you got the why this long childhood afternoons became long childhood afternoon. You understood that he was not actually happy about his childhood. He was sad. His parents were not happy, not united, and also they pretended to be aristocratic. They were actually aristocratic, rich, but then while Rilke was born, they were actually poor and they lived in a cramped up house. This kind of pretense also wrongly influenced the child. and the military education and the religious confusion, all these things were there. That is why this long childhood afternoons. It was not actually happy, it is sad. And then Rilke has actually written more than 4 poems with the same theme, childhood, in the theme of childhood. And 2 of them are actually same name, same title, childhood. Most often, this poem is confused with that poem. That poem which is written in 4 stanzas and equal stanzas in iambic pentameter, having 33 lines. It describes his afternoon in a school, at a school. That is another poem written by Rilke on childhood with the same title, childhood. Now, why is he so obsessed with childhood? It is because that he believes that only through reconciliation with his childhood he can transform himself, he can cure himself, he can heal himself. To him, memory is a tool to unlock the mystery of human experience. That is the reason he is writing about childhood. He actually expresses himself, he vents himself out writing about childhood. That is the reason here. No. So you got the implication what that long childhood afternoons mean. And then it suddenly vanished also. He is actually 2 things he is doing here. He is lamenting childhood. Also, he is lamenting the passage of childhood. That time has changed. That time has gone. Both things he is lamenting. It is a sort of a play with his own mind. What he is doing is he is reconciling himself with his childhood, and he is saying he is making those moments happy, and he is feeling sad for those happy moments or that period passing over. This is a kind of cure he is giving to his mind. Now, when you say we are still reminded, it can be 2 ways. It might be the profundity of this poet to reach out beyond his time. He is reaching out to us from his time. Can be that. It can also be he reaching out to himself. He reaching out to himself. So I told he is reconciling with his own childhood. So he is there at the current time, and his childhood self also is there. They also. We are reminded. We are still reminded. Sometimes by a rain. It's actually raining here. Hope it is clear to you. Okay. So we are still reminded. It can be that also. Either he is speaking to us or he is speaking to his own younger self. That kind. And now you see, you can understand it. But we can no longer say what it means. The memories that is brought back, you are not clear of those memories. Why certain things happen? You were not responsible for many of the things that happened in your childhood. You were passive at that time. This can be exactly what means by what the next stanza means. As back then, when nothing happened to us, actually those things happened to us, it was like it was not happening because of us, or it is happening by us or for us or to us, or like that. We were passive there. It was happening. It was happening all around. And then we changed. Now we are not like that. Now we can think and reason out things. This could be the meaning there. And then life was never again so filled with meanings. As I told you, finding oneself is very essential to cure oneself, to know oneself, to understand oneself. So in that sense, life was never again so filled with meeting. You lived your childhood once, now he is living it once again. He is meeting those same old happenings once again. So you're meeting and there is a reunion also. Things happened in the past, you're meeting them again when you're reliving it. You're reasoning out certain things, and then when you reason out certain things, you are discovering so many things. So there is a reunion there. What you thought was like this at that time need not be the same thing. So there is a reunion, and again there is passing on. Okay, there are so many things that you held on to, that were burdens to you, that you are passing on, that you are letting go. All such things can happen. And then we have a new meaning for as back then when nothing happened to us. This can suggest passivity, passivity of things that happen to you. But now you have become active. Now you have become active. And then you have, okay, you're moving there. All these happenings, all these things, all this jumble in your life, all this muddle in your life, and all those good things that has happened to you, you are a part of it. And you are moving like that. I mean, all of this, these happenings, these events, these memories, all these things, and you, like a shepherd and a sheep. You are a group there, but you are again lonely. You're going with this. And you are distanced from the others. You are distanced from the others. That kind of situation everybody feels, isn't it? Only you know what is happening to you. Only you know how you became like this. That kind of a sense is there to these lines. This is the reason why we say that Rilke his poetry is mystical. You know, it is a self-search. It is a journey within. Now you see that that line, and became as lonely as a shepherd. This can mean loneliness because of nobody is there. You are isolated. You are alone. That kind. But it can also mean a kind of solitude. He believes that it is only in solitude you can attain the complete knowledge of yourself. It is only knowing himself required constantly. Okay. He insisted that it was only by being alone that one could truly be an artist, one could truly understand oneself, and he made a life out of being alone. Being alone, he made a life because he wrote all these things. I don't think he painted or I don't think he sculpted, but he wrote a lot of literature like this, poems like this. And he wrote also essays on art. So he made a living with it. He lived waiting, oh yeah, okay. And that is the condition that he lived in. So this loneliness might be isolation because in his childhood he was alone. And another fact, I told you, he was the only child of his parents. The child that they had before, and there was no more. So this child was alone. No one to compare, no one to give company also. Mother was actually petting him or considering him as a big doll, and father was considering him as not sufficient for himself. Naturally, the child was alone. So that lonely as a shepherd could mean his childhood days when he was isolated, when he felt lonely. It can also mean a solitude. Now, when you think about all those things, when you rethink about all those things, when you reason it out as an adult about all those things, and when you reconcile with all those things as an adult, it can mean solitude. So this is that. And as an overburdened by Vase, okay, that is again overburdening is again all these thoughts and all these happenings that you have unresolved kind of situation in your mind. Until it is resolved, it is a difficulty for you. So it can. And then there is a summoned and stirred. Who is summoning? Who is summoning? Yeah, it is a kind of a space. There is an entity that requires us to move on and do certain things. Move on and come to reality. Move on and take up tasks. So this summoning has stirred him. And he is suddenly come back to this present self. Now, when you say, and slowly, like a long new thread introduced into the picture sequence, slowly, but you feel that it has all happened suddenly. You have become an adult, and now you are in charge. Though when you were young, you were not responsible for anything that happened. Life was passive. Now you are active. Now you are the person who have to deal with life and everything life presents in front of you. But you are bewildered because it is all a jumble. It is all, as the word there, a new thread. A new thread means it can be a new lead or something. But a thread, isn't it? It has a lot of windings. It has a lot of story in it. If the thread is without knots, it is easy. But thread is actually very easy to get jumbled up, to get mixed up, to get muddled up. You take a small thread to stitch something. A small thing can entwine them and it becomes a knot there. So life is like that. It is a jumble or that kind of. So you got enough of meaning to it. Now let us see what we have next. Yeah. we need to discuss about themes. And then this part of what we have now is only so much so that we have we need to cover, and we need to know that we have touched all these parts. Okay, childhood. Now, why child? I told you he has written many poems like on childhood. One would be memories of childhood. That is there in his collection called New Poems. And then again another poem with the same title, Childhood. Then you have of childhood or something. You have it behind your textbook. See, they have asked you to. They have asked you to compare it and see. All these things. So why does he talk so much about childhood? I told you previously. It is because he wants to reconcile with himself, and he knows that knowing himself required constantly witnessing to his past, and by choosing to represent his childhood in densely pictorial terms, Rilke is able to illustrate, his confusions. He is able to resolve himself. He is able to resolve his tensions only by speaking about childhood. That is the reason he takes childhood as a theme always. Many of his poem is like that. Okay, and then he has written a book called The Notebooks of Malte Laudis Brigg. It is a semi-autobiographical book. A lot of things that happened to him is written in that. Again, he is venting his feelings and his thoughts. He is reconciling with himself through that book. Reconciliation. Reconciliation is another theme in this. You go to that line, which is that line. Second stanza, third and fourth line. Life was never again filled with meetings, with reunion, and with the passing on. So that was stages of reconciliation that we saw there. We are reliving what we saw, and we lived it once, met things once, met events once. We are meeting them again. Then there is a reunion. That time when we met, we would have parted ways with anger, hatred, revenge, vengefulness, sorrow. But now it is a reunion because we are reasoning it out and resolving our minds. I told you, Rilke is very much influenced by psychoanalysis also. That kind of thinking also he has. So he knows how to cure himself. That is why he uses this thing. And reunion is there, and passing on is there. So I told reconciliation is another theme in this book. Then you have art. I told you, when we spoke about the poet, I told he lived in a colony of artists and how art influenced his writing, how his poetry improved because of his art, And I told also the three stages of his art. Now just go through this poem once again, and you will see what I meant by it. In the third line, you can see that he is actually taking you through a gallery of paintings. Don't you see a small child in an afternoon sun playing alone in the first stanza? Then there is a painting of vanishing and coming back. That is another painting. And then there is a painting of a rainy day, rain in the forest, sometimes by rain. That kind of an image comes into your mind. Then you have a world of things there. Then a beautiful picture, a big picture of mountains and valleys. Though mountains and valleys are not mentioned when you say lonely as a shepherd. Just the term lonely as a shepherd will bring into the picture sheep, meadows, water, rivers, hills and valleys, isn't it? So that those kind of pictures. That is why, and then he is blending out things like that. It is as if he is taking you through a gallery of painting. That is why this art also is a theme. Art also is a theme in his poetry. And then memory. I told memory is cure. All these things are reliving the past. That is why memory is a thing. And then we spoke about isolation, loneliness, and solitude. How when he was a child, he was isolated, no company, nobody to be with him, play with him, or understand him. That's why it is an isolation there. He felt loneliness within his heart also. Cannot depend his mother who is overpetting him, and cannot depend on his father who is distancing him. That kind. But then when these experiences are relived in silence, in loneliness, that isolation, that loneliness becomes solitude. So these are the themes there. Okay, all in one slide, style, poetic devices, and symbols. Let me see whether you can point it out. His style is impressionist, they say, because impressionist poets are another set of poets. If you have time, you please go and read impression. It is not important for this poetry. It is just that you can add knowledge. I told you, when you are relaxing, when you take in all these things like a play, just to gather more information, it will remain in your head. You are doing your first year English literature. You won't stay there, no. You will go to second year, you will go to third year, then you will do your PG, then you will try for your net. At that time, if you mug up all these things, these are not going to sit in your mind. Instead, you read now and then when you're free. When you read it connectedly, then that would remain in your mind. Okay, so impressionist painters are there. Impressionist poets are also there. They use painting skills in poetry. His style is somewhat like that. Then poetic devices, you can very easily see simile. Where and became the last stanza, first line, as lonely as a shepherd. There is a simile there. And where else did I find? I saw a like somewhere. Yeah, like a long new thread. Like a long new thread. He is comparing life or life incidents like a strand, like a long new thread. So there is again a comparison there. He is using a simile. And you might have seen throughout the poem, it is enjambment. One line is overlapping on the other line. There is no stop there. It is adding on, and even here there is a big enjambment between the two stanzas, third stanza and fourth stanza. It jumps up, it jumps on like that. With reunion and with passing on, as then when nothing happened to us. It is jumping. That is enjambment. Then allusion. Where do you find allusion? This lonely as a shepherd. Lonely as a shepherd, when you say, it can be an allusion to Orpheus, Greek mythology. Rilke was influenced with Greek mythology also, and Orpheus is a god who is, always surrounded by animals. It is because he sings well or plays instruments well, and the animals get enchanted towards him. Now, when you see this picture of the lonely shepherd, it might be of this Orpheus, Greek mythical Orpheus. It is an allusion to that Orpheus, wherein Orpheus is having all these animals and he is lonely, alone with all these animals. That kind of an allusion. Then you have a paradox. What paradox did we see? He is actually having a sad childhood, bad childhood, a problematic childhood, but then he is lamenting the passage of this time of childhood. So that itself is a paradox there. He is actually, the whole poem is, there is a passage of time. He is lamenting the passage of time. He has become an adult now. He is sorry for that. So that passage of time he is lamenting. So this is a paradox there. Then you have various symbols there. I said rain. How does rain become a symbol? Second stanza, first line. Second stanza, first line. We are still reminded sometimes by a rain. What does rain do? You have seen, perennial crops like ginger or turmeric and all. These things would be there below under the ground. Or thunder lily, you would have seen different kinds of lily, bulbous things. The roots will be there down, but it will not be, nothing will be there above. Above, new soil will be there, and we might think that the plant is dead. But when by the coming of the first rain, when the rain comes, all these things sprout back. So see that line? It is very beautiful there. We are still reminded sometimes by a rain. So this rain might be that rejuvenating rain. It's actually bringing back what is buried deep within. So the childhood is buried. in this time. Presently when we are adults, the childhood and the happenings of the childhood, the incidents of the childhood, all these things are buried. But suddenly, like a rain, it is rejuvenated. It is bringing back. So that is a symbol again. And a threat is also a symbol, wherein events of life does not go smoothly. It might jumble up. It might muddle up. My God. I hope I have not exceeded my time. Anyway. Okay, I think I shall wind it up. Now I will give you time for questions, but then before that, I would like you all to go through these things. Poems on childhood by Wordsworth. He has written. Wordsworth has written on childhood. Then Thomas Hood has written. I remember. Same title. Philip Larkin also has written another poem. All these poems are few poems that I collected for you so that you can read in your free time about childhood. Then the next thing that you see here, Book of Hours, the Eulogies, Letters to a Young Poet, all these things are works by Rilke. It is nice to read these poems. And if you have time, you read about Impressionist paintings, see some of those paintings and see who are Impressionist poems and read some of those poems. It would be very good. Now, another thing that I wanted to tell is that I have not done. Yeah, okay, one second. I would not say that I am very sure of this, but then this might be a confusion that this poem is the poem that we have in the collection called the Book of Images, because New Poems is another collection released in 1907 that also has the same theme. The childhood that we are speaking about, that we have here for study, might be from that collection. It might be. I don't want to confuse you all. I've not done a thorough study, but I have my own my reasons to believe that. I have my findings. I have not researched it that thoroughly, but I feel I have my own justifications for that. So I thought that this poem that we are studying might have been in the other book, New Poems, and not in this Book of Images. Book of Images, Childhood, is another poem which describes about the Rilke's, or it is semi-autobiographical, and it describes about his being in a school, that 33-lined childhood. Okay. Now I think I have done almost everything. It is time for you to ask questions. In case I have not covered anything, when you ask questions, that will come out there. Okay, time for questions.
Actually, we don't have a question right now, but can you just tell what are the important questions that can come up related to this poem or this particular module in this for the exam or in the exam point of view?
All right. I would suggest, first suggestion would be that do not read this poem in an exam point of view. When you hear this class, so many things would be in your head. That would be fine for your writing. But then the questions behind the textbook, I think they definitely ask about that question, wherein you have long childhood afternoons. What does that mean and why it is like that? That kind. And then they might, lonely shepherd, that is another question. But basically the question on how he feels about childhood, that is important there. That question has come. It would be a good question there. Okay. Anything else?
There is a question. Why do you think rain is used as a more impressive symbol here?
Yeah, I didn't see. I didn't get.
Why do you think rain is used as a more impressive symbol here?
It's not only, if you are speaking about impressionist technique used in this poem, it is not only rain. You have the lonely shepherd scene would be more effective there. What I feel about rain is impressionist technique is a painting technique. You draw about images, you bring about paintings there, paintings into your poem. That is the technique that is used here. Rain could be what I think about rain is, it is a symbol here, and when rain falls down, things come up. Things that is buried comes up. So Like that, when you are in solitude, it is like a rain there. That moment is like raining, and things that is buried within you, happenings of childhood. In Rilke's case, surely, definitely about his childhood, all these things comes up. That is why he is saying that we are still reminded sometimes by a rain. This rain can be symbolic. This is an interpretation. That's all. This rain can be symbolic, and rain actually brings up things that is buried down, that is dried by summer, isn't it? That is why I told that.
Okay. One more question is there.
Yeah.
Why the poet seems bewildered at the end, and whether it implicates the impact of childhood in one's personality in the later stage.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the poem ends like this: introduced into the picture sequence, introduced into that picture sequence, we're now having to go on bewilders us. So this bewilderment can be two, three things. One is when we were child, that time we do not know what is happening around us, what is happening, but you are scared, you are afraid, but you do not need to lead anything. Now you have to lead things. Now you would be responsible to what you are doing. The things that happened in your past has an impact on you, and with that thing you are going to lead your present. That is why there is a bewilderment there. And second thing is, it all happens suddenly. Sometimes things that are within us, we wouldn't know much about it, but the realization of it, the reminder of it, when you are reminded and when you know the meaning of many things that is there, suddenly there is a kind of bewilderment. This bewilderment also can be, suddenly when you know certain things about yourself, about that when we really meeting, reunion, and passing on, that kind of a process. Suddenly, when these things happen, there can be a bewilderment. That is the instance of it. That is the situation there. All these things can bewilder you. I hope I clarified that.
Sister, one more question is there. Please ask about the rhyming scheme. That's what the question is. Please ask about the rhyming scheme.
When I see this, actually you cannot say this is a translated poem. You would know that this poem comes under the category world poetry, isn't it? And I told he is a German poet. He has actually written this poem in German, and this is a translation. That is the way I have gathered it. I think it is a translation. It's not in English, so you cannot get a rhyme scheme here. You have just put it in I mean to say stanzas. The meaning can be taken, but not the structure. You cannot analyze it through structure. That is what I believe about this book. He is a German poet. He has not written in English. That is how I know. And most of the titles are in German, and we have the translation. You see the rest of the thing. I mean the collection in which this poetry is Das Buch der Bilder, and they say the book of images. It is a translation. The book of images is a translation of the real title that is given. So the whole poetry is a translation. It's not possible to get a rhyme scheme here.
Okay. Sister, one last.
Yeah.
In the line, and became filled to the brim with the figures. What is the figure the poet is talking about?
Yeah. You are talking about third stanza, last stanza, and became filled to the brim with figures. Now you see, a child, when a child is a child, think about this Alice in Wonderland scenario itself. That there you are living among, you are living with this animals, inanimate things, and all those things. You do not know the difference between what was real and what is artificial. So your mind is filled with those things there. If a child is preoccupied with some kind of fears, maybe a spider or something like that, his mind will be filled with that, only that. He cannot know that the reality that the spider cannot eat him or something like that. So the mind is filled with only those figures. You have movies also like that, no? I think it is movies on ants or something like that. when the boy becomes using some kind of some certain thing, he becomes a small person and he starts living with the ants and the struggle of the ants and all these things he can see. The mind is filled with the figures, isn't it? That way. And some other movies, I am not getting the name of the movie, but then at night time he dreams that he is flying with the cot. He is on the cot, sleeping on the cot, but in between when he gets up, he is flying with the cot, and he is using the edge of the cot like a steering, and he can move, he can go up, he can come down, all these things. Why does that happen? Actually, the mind is filled with the figures. The child thing is real. To him, the cot is a flying machine. He can move on that, and that happens always. We too might have lived like that. We don't remember it anymore, that's all. But just think, when you were playing with small pots and pans and all these things, when you were taking things from your kitchen and doing, cooking or something like that, your mind was filled with figures, isn't it? Yeah, I am cooking. That was real for you. You wear a sari and you do this. Or you take a stick and act as a police and you go arrest people with using rope and all these things. Your mind is filled with the figure that you are the police there. You are doing these things. That is it. Your mind is filled with figures there. Yeah. We lived their world as something human and became filled to the brim with figures. This is the essence there. You are living that in that world and you are filled to brim with that world things. Yeah. Next question.
That was the last question.
Okay.
We don't have any more questions, sister. Thank you so much for taking this session. Would you like to conclude, or would you like to add anything to this?
So this is what I have to say. Nobody asked me about why I think that this might be from the other book or such things, and I am not going to elaborate. Stick on to what is given in the text, all right? When you search more in the textbook, when you search more, or in future when you're doing this poem or doing a little more search in this poem, there might be a confusion that I feel that this is not the poem that is supposed to be thought of to be in the book of images. But I firmly believe that this is the poem that is there in the new poem section, which was released in 1907. I am telling you this, I just finish it like that. I am telling you this because we learned that there are three phases in our Rainer Maria Rilke's poetic life, poetic excellence. This poem might have been composed when he was in connection with Rodin, because Rodin's way of life. Rodin was a sculptor, and his way of thinking is like, you should think more, you should observe more, you should be disciplined, all these things. So you just see the first line. It would be good to give much thought before you try to find words for something so lost. So actually, Rilke has written the process of his thought. Before writing the poem on childhood, he is not just spilling out what is there in his mind, but rather he is thinking and he is asking us also that it is good to give much thought before you try to find words for something so lost. So that is one sign that I find. And then these new poems, the collection in which I believe that this poem would be, says that he has named it New Poems, and it was published in 1907. He also says that that poem could be called as Things Poems, because at that time his mind was not much on paintings but on sculpting and observing things. Sculpting is slightly different from painting. In painting we add strokes and put paints, but in sculpting we actually chisel out things. Observation is much important. So his observation of things had grown to a great level. So he has called that thing poems. This might be the reason why he says accept what happens to things and creatures. You know, his attention is more on things. So his childhood experience on things has revived there. Maybe that is the sign, and that is right. And then if you ask, in 1902 the book called Book of Pictures was published. So before that he was thinking in a painterly techniques. Painterly technique is less in this poem compared to the preciseness or the discipline of. This is the reason why I feel that this poem is the poem that is there in the collection called New Poems, which was released in 1907. And the other poem, other childhood poem, which says that, which says about the boy in a school and the long drawn times. That poem contains many pictures. It is like a picture gallery. Many images are there, many paintings are there. That might be the one in the collection called Book of Pictures, and which was released in 1902 when he was living in the painters' colony or so. That is my explanation to why I believe this. But you all stick on to what is given in the text. You will find it out later on, isn't it? That's it. Thank you.
Okay, sister. Thank you so much for this session. And for the audience, ഈ സെഷനിൽ നമ്മൾ എഡിറ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് നെക്സ്റ്റ് വീക്ക് നമ്മൾ അസാപ്പിന്റെ യൂട്യൂബ് ചാനൽ ഇടുന്നതായിരിക്കും. So you can view it, and if anyone has missed it, they can also refer to this particular session. Thank you all. Thank you, sister. Thanks a lot.
Yes, thank you very much for including me.